appreciate you. And we have the president in Cannon Falls, Minnesota, and his message there. By the way, an official visit of the president there. Yet I did also see the speech while I was looking at the plane that messed us up. So he makes it down to Cannon Falls, gives the speech, and I'm still waiting in the airport for crying out loud because of his arrival time and messing things up. So I did get to hear the it was a campaign speech is what it was, and this is supposedly official business. But anyway, we're going to talk about that and more with some of our guests today on the Common Sense Club of the Scott Hannon Show. First one is Minnesota's chairman of the Republican Party, Tony Sutton, joins us. Tony, how are you?
Pretty good, Scott. How about you? Sounds like you had a little travel snafu there.
I did, thanks to the President of the United States. Not only is he screwing up the economy, he's screwing up my travel plans for crying out loud. How about that?
I'm perfect.
Crying out loud. Well, let's start there. Did you hear the president?
I did, and you're right. It was absolutely a taxpayer-funded campaign stop. I mean, these sort of town hall meetings, so-called official business, this is all designed to get media in a major media market and to try and put a lipstick on a pig, which is the president's economic policy. And it's not working. It's all just talk. And just like Democrats are wont to do, these are just meaningless, empty, symbolic gestures.
What I was amazed at is it was as though the president has not been in Washington, D.C. for the last 2.5 years. I mean, the whole speech was, I need your help. We got to get Washington to get it. They're not compromising. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. And they're the reason everything's wrong. And I'm like, where have you been? It's as though he's, having an out-of-body experience or something, forgetting he's president of the United States.
Well, I think you said it best. I mean, he's trying to distance himself from Washington, but when you're president of the United States for 2.5 years, you are Washington. And, you can't blame the other guy, and you can't keep blaming Congress. I mean, the fact of the matter is that it's the president who is a one-trick pony. It's more about more taxes, bigger government, more regulation, and that's just not going to grow the economy.
Do you put any credence in the fact that this was an official visit and taxpayer funded, and yet the entire time even the Hill newspaper already is reporting, hey, this was supposed to be an official visit, and this sounded like a campaign stop. He's blistering Republicans, made a snide remark about Mitt Romney, mentioned the straw poll. I mean, the whole thing smacked of a campaign stop, yet it's not funded by his campaign. I mean, you plan to make something of that?
Well, I think the RNC has, in the press conference I was at earlier today with Reince Priebus, the RNC chairman, is making an issue of that it's been a taxpayer-funded campaign event and continues to be. I mean, look, the president's on a bus tour. That's a campaign technique. This is not the president engaging in official business. This is the president engaging in trying to sell his economic agenda and to stump for votes. And he's in Minnesota because Minnesota is going to be a battleground state. He's in trouble in a state that he did well in 2008, and he's going to Iowa for the same reason. I mean, it's pretty clear what this is about. This isn't. If he was really concerned, Scott, with jobs, and he'd be in Washington right now trying to figure out a way to cut regulations to get this economy going instead of out here stumping for votes.
And you mentioned that this is all designed to get major media coverage in a metropolitan market, which if you go to Cannon Falls, you can say it's a rural event, but really, it is just a few miles out of the Twin Cities, so they know that, it's going to get major coverage in the cities, which it did today. As I read in the Star Trib and other places about people getting tickets, et cetera, et cetera. So Cannon Falls is designed to have the rural backdrop, again, a political thing, but really this is about getting attention in Minneapolis, right?
Well, it is, and not just Minneapolis. You get attention in Minneapolis, you get attention in North and South Dakota, western Wisconsin, northern Iowa. I mean, it gets a huge amount of attention. He has a rural backdrop, and I think it's anytime the President of the United States visits a town, especially a small town, it's a point of civic pride. But there's I want to say hidden agenda, but it's not hidden very well. I mean, this again is about getting coverage in an area of the country that's going to be a battleground for the presidency. And I think it's no coincidence. We're going to see a lot of the president. I think we're going to see a lot of the Republican nominee once that's decided in the upper Midwest, because this is where the presidential election is going to be decided.
All right, let me ask you about another big story of the weekend. I was shocked that Tim Pawlenty dropped out. It really was. I mean, I thought third place finish. He's in the top three. Lives to fight another day, and got to keep building on the momentum. So I was really surprised. Were you?
I was shocked. I know he was disappointed from all the press reports about his performance in the Iowa straw poll, but I didn't think it was, bad enough to hang up the skates, as they say. I think that maybe he just felt like it was that the path was a lot more difficult than he wanted to pursue. But and as somebody who's a homer from Minnesota, I was happy to have two top-tier candidates running for president. We still have Michelle Bachmann, who did a fantastic job in winning that straw poll, and I think has really surprised a lot of the East Coast pundits, the chattering classes who underestimate her, and they may be underestimating her all the way to the White House.
Yeah, you don't buy any of this business of, she's not going to be there for the long haul. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was cringing during the debate when you had this back and forth between the two of them. I'm thinking, come on, we don't need this. Tim really going after her, saying, hey, if that's your record of accomplishments, stop, you're killing us. And she's saying, hey, you're no better than Obama. I mean, that was not fun, was it?
Well, hey, you don't like to see things like that, but these are strong competitors. They're going to have sharp elbows when they're competitive and when they're competing. But at the end of the day, they're on the same team. They're both conservative Republicans, and I think it's more a matter of degree and style than any substantive difference between them. And I think what Michelle has done is she's really tapped into this dissatisfaction that people feel with government, not just conservative Republicans, but everyday people who look out there and say, why isn't this working? We're $14 trillion in debt. We haven't solved any of our problems. The country is, economically is going to be overtaken by China unless we do something about it in a hurry. The economy's in the dumper. People want a change in direction, and boy, she's been really able to tap into that. And frankly, I think she's got staying power. I mean, I think she's going to be there throughout this process. Whether she wins or not is going to be in the hands of caucus goers and primary voters. But she's definitely one of the front runners.
There are evidently, you told WCCO over the weekend that you plan to talk to Governor Plenty about running against Amy Klobuchar in the Senate race. Have you had that conversation yet?
No, I will be approaching, Governor Plenty. I think that I want to give the guy a little time to decompress. I think if you were to ask him today, he probably wouldn't be real hot on the idea. I mean, he just came off of a major campaign for president, but I think you could give him a couple weeks or a month, decompress, figure out what he wants to do. He would be a formidable opponent for Senator Klobuchar. When you look at his record of accomplishment, here's a strong executive, a governor who was able to balance the budget without raising taxes, slowing the growth, and actually decreasing the growth in government for the first time since statehood, versus a senator who is basically a lapdog for President Obama's failed economic policies. And when she does become engaged on the issues, she's fiddling around with things like regulations for kids' video games on cell phones. And that's just not, that's small ball issues for a U.S. senator. And I think that would be just a great contrast between the two, and it'd be a heck of a race. And, I think Obama's going to be a millstone around Klobuchar's neck. And whoever is the Republican candidate, that's going to be a competitive race.
I asked Norm Coleman about it in the airport, just chatted with him briefly, and he said he didn't think there was a chance that Tim Pawlenty would run for the Senate against Klobuchar. Do you have anything that sort of leads you to believe that he potentially would seriously consider that?
I have no idea, except in politics, I've learned that you never say never, and even when you say never, you change your mind sometimes. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't do it. I wouldn't be surprised if he did do it. I think 12 is going to be a pretty good year. As a matter of fact, I don't want to get too political or in the weeds for your listeners, but people say, oh, well, he should wait until 14 to run against Frank. And, what's going to happen in 12 is we're going to take the presidency, we're going to take the U.S. Senate and Congress, and by 2014, the pendulum might start swinging back because we're going to have to make some tough decisions and cuts and things like that. 14 might not be a cakewalk. I mean, I think 12 might be the better year. And, Governor Plenty would have to, read the tea leaves and decide what he wants to do, even if he wants to run for office again at all. But I think 12 is going to be one of those seminal years that if people aren't running, they're going to kick themselves for not running.
I agree. And I think Tim Pawlenty would be fantastic because it would change that game. I mean, Amy Klobuchar is seen as invincible even in this environment, which I don't buy at all. But I think a Tim Pawlenty Klobuchar race, and all of a sudden you've got a completely different ballgame there. So I'd love to see it happen. Last quick question, Tony. Redistricting. Where are we at in the courts with Minnesota's redistricting?
Well, the hearing starts at the end of this month in August, and there are going to be public hearings where they travel around Minnesota. The 5-judge panel travels around Minnesota in October to get input from the general public, and then the court proceedings, will be completed sometime in November. I'm guessing. You know how the courts are; you're never quite certain. And then they'll take and draw the lines, and we won't know most likely until February.
Do you anticipate coming close to what you proposed, or is that a tough sell?
No, I think I think what the legislature passed was a very fair approach. It recognizes communities of interest. It recognizes the changes in Minnesota's population, and it's a plan that meet or exceeds what the courts have drawn in the past. But we'll see. We don't want to take anything for granted. All we want is a fair and legal process. Process that accurately reflects the changes in Minnesota's population.
Minnesota's Republican Party Chairman Tony Sutton, our guest on the Common Sense Club. Always a pleasure chat with you. Our best to Bridget, your lovely wife.
Thank you so much. And by the way, that Grassroots, a great book. I recommend it strongly.
Well, thank you very much. Grassroots, a Common Sense Action Agenda for America. I handed Tony a copy last time I was down in the Twin Cities, as a matter of fact. Good to talk to you, Tony. Take care.
Thank you much.
We'll take a break. Governor Jack Dalrymple will join us about 2:45. He was in Indianapolis meeting with the NCAA along with other North Dakota officials on Friday. We'll get an update on that. Vin Weber for more on the Pawlenty decision over the weekend. Robert Costa, National Review Online, who was in Iowa, recaps that wild weekend. We're going to talk to Frank Blackcloud, a Spirit Lake Sioux Tribal member, nickname supporter, get his reaction to the NCAA's continued defiance of common sense. Michael Barone of the Washington Examiner. In our 4 o'clock hour, Mark McKinnon, former political strategist to George W. Bush, John McCain, and others, as well on Governor Rick Perry, bit of a game changer in the presidential Republican nomination sweepstakes. All to come on the Scott Innes Show on the Common Sense Club. Don't touch that dial. We'll continue.
Live.